"What, Caitlin?" Josh said. "You just lost track of time? Somehow 7 months just—" He stopped. His eyes widened. "Is that blood?" he asked. Caitlin looked down. Her low-cut, tight-fitting sweater was maroon, so it was hard to see the darker red splotches. But they were there, at her stomach, on her sleeves. She also now saw smaller reddish-brown spots on the thighs of her dark jeans. She looked back up at Josh. "Jesus, Caitlin," he said, moving quickly to her. "You're hurt." "I don't feel hurt. My God, what the hell happened? I don't know." He touched her arm with a quick, comforting hand before slowly, gently lifting her sweater. He was wincing before he even got a glimpse of what lay beneath. Caitlin kept her eyes on his face, not wanting to see whatever wound she'd suffered. Josh's wince disappeared, and a frown took its place. Still holding up her shirt, he peered at her sides, then her back. "There's nothing here," he said. "I don't think it's your blood." She wasn't all that surprised. She hadn't felt injured. Of course, that begged the question. "So, whose blood is it?" Josh asked. She wished she knew. The shower seemed to clear Caitlin's mind a bit. She stood with her head down and let the hot water wash over her, allowed the steam to work its way into her. She was tired, but she no longer felt drugged. When she stepped out of the shower, she found that Josh had left her favorite flannel pajamas on the vanity, the ones with drawings of teacups all over them. After she dried off, she slipped into them, and they felt wonderful. She turned to the sink, used a corner of her towel to clear the steam from a little circle in the mirror, and nearly screamed. The person looking at her from her reflection wasn't Caitlin. She backed away, bumping into the wall behind her. After a steadying breath, she stepped forward and looked again at the mirror, but the steam had already reclaimed it. She used the towel to clear another spot, then sucked in another breath, a deeper one, and looked. Who the heck was that? Where was her blonde hair? Who had dyed it red? And if she hadn't still been so confused when she'd washed her hair in the shower moments ago, she likely would have noticed then that it was a good 4 inches shorter than she'd always kept it. No longer shoulder length, her hair now fell just below her ears. Caitlin leaned closer to the glass and studied her face. It was thinner. No one would ever have called her overweight in the past, and she still looked healthy, but she could see in her cheeks that she had dropped some weight. She ran her hands down her sides. 5 pounds gone, maybe 10, which when you started at 123 made a difference you could see. Where had the weight gone? Where had the time gone? Josh said she'd been missing for 7 months. 7 months. When Caitlin walked out of the bathroom, Josh was sitting on the bed waiting. As soon as the door opened, he came over to her, wrapped his arms around her, and hugged her as though he never planned to let her go. She hugged him back, and it felt good. He kissed her damp hair. She breathed in his scent. After the longest, most meaningful embrace of her life, Caitlin said, "I need tea." Downstairs, she sat at the kitchen table while Josh made her tea with honey and lemon. Then he followed her into the living room where she curled up in a corner of the sofa. Josh sat beside her. Not at the other end, but right beside her. "Feeling okay?" he asked. He looked like he was trying to be casual about it, but Caitlin could sense him studying her. That was natural, she supposed, under the circumstances. "I'm okay," she said, though it was only partly true. Physically, she felt fine. Mentally, less so. She took a sip of tea, her hands wrapped around the oversized mug. "While you were in the shower," Josh said, "I bagged up the clothes you were wearing. I also went out to the car in the driveway and found a gym bag on the front seat." He nodded to a little black canvas bag on a chair across the room. Caitlin looked at it. It seemed familiar.